Minnesota Vikings on the road at the Green Bay Packers, and news has broken. Unvaccinated Kirk Cousins has tested positive for COVID, so he's definitely out. So it does not matter about the reason I emphasize unvaccinated, because he does not have the option in order to test out. Since he's unvaccinated and tested positive, he is going to be out for sure this week. Also coming through as we've been on here, one of his backups, Kellen Mond, is also unvaccinated. So there could be a close contact situation that happens there. So that's something we'll be monitoring as well. Sean Mannion, who's on the COVID list as we're recording this, looks like he will come off of the COVID list and looks like he will be starting for the for the Minnesota Vikings in this game. So what we've seen, this line comes off where it was sitting at 7 and comes back up as high as 13.5 in favor of the Packers in this one. Now, guys, we're having to digest this on the fly. We're having to kind of handicap this on the fly. So, Brad, 7 to 13.5 is Kirk Cousins. First, is Kirk Cousins worth 6.5 points? And 2, is 2 touchdowns enough? I mean, is 2 touchdowns too much in a game that, like, it's going to be 5 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
5
man
degrees.
Out in Vegas can't comprehend what that is.
Yes,
Like
5 degrees. It's like, I mean, it's the ball's going to be hard. The players are going to feel like crap. I mean, it's going to be horrible. I don't know, man. Like I was wondering, I thought this might have just like 3-4 points. 6.5 points is a lot.
Yeah, I won't pretend to know anything about Sean Mannion. You know, people who have watched some college football said he's another Ian Book. So take that for what you will. I would say a way to play this, a way I have played this, is longest field goal under 45.5. Like the ball is going to be a rock. Basically, it's going to be tough to kick it that far. I retweeted something earlier this week. The average passing game in single digit temperature games is about 160 passing yards and 0.3 touchdowns. I think 0.3 passing touchdowns. So there wasn't going to be much offense anyway, in my view. And now you could assume there's going to be even less. So maybe long field goal under for me now.
Look, Steven, I know, again, like we said, we're kind of doing this on the fly here, trying to figure things out. But if you do look at the defensive side of the ball here, one of the things that we do know is that the Vikings, if you are going to attack them, at least the advanced metrics say that their run defense is worse than their pass defense. We're now playing in a friggin' 5-degree game. And then you do have that 2-headed monster in Jones and Dillon there for this Packers team, and they're probably not going to be too incredibly worried about Minnesota doing much on the offensive side of the ball with Sean Mannion at quarterback. And so they're now cruising towards the number 1 overall seed. Do we, at this point, just assume that maybe we're looking at just Aaron Rodgers unders, passing touchdown unders, all the different stuff like that? Because, hey, get out of this game, stay healthy, take that number 1 seed, take the bye, and let's just go ahead and get out of here without risking any of our players, and let's go try and win a Super Bowl.
Is it possible, though, that when they get to the red zone, Rodgers is still going to want to pass it, though? Because, I mean, the man's in the race here for MVP. And he is the favorite, so maybe he still tries to. So I like the angle in terms of yardage. So let's see if the market and they post numbers that haven't adjusted enough for this weather situation.
Maybe yardage, maybe attempts, like things like that, completions. Yeah.
So let's see how much they lower that when it opens compared to his season averages. For what it's worth, Sean Mannion's had 2 starts over the past few years. In 2017 with the Rams, he lost to the Niners 34-13, 20 of 34 passing for 169 yards, only 5 yards per attempt. And then he had a start in 2019. That was with the Minnesota Vikings, and 12 of 21, 126 yards, 2 picks. Didn't have a passing touchdown in either of those starts. So that's what we're dealing with here. I will say that, I mean, at least when Kirk Cousins was going to start, I didn't care as much about Kirk Cousins, and I cared a lot more about what I thought was a complete mismatch for this Vikings rushing offense against the Packers rush defense. The Packers rush D over the past 4 weeks has been bottom 2 in the league in rush EPA and success rate over the past month. But with Kirk Cousins not out there, and do they just stack the box now in this cold weather situation, commit more guys closer to the line of scrimmage, not being afraid of Sean Mannion going to beat them? So it changes the equation completely. I liked the Vikings before this. I had it. I got burnt with the COVID news, and now I don't really have a strong opinion either way. It's just hard to digest here with this situation, but I do agree with the weather. You're probably not going to get a ton of points by both of these teams.
Brad, one other thing to bring up here that is kind of a byproduct of this game. If people thought that the only way Aaron Rodgers was going to lose MVP was that for them to lose one of their last 2 games, well, this would have been the game that they would have lost, right? I mean, like, this would have been the game that they maybe could have slipped up if Kirk Cousins put together kind of his perfect performance and all of that. So if we look, because they're going to close out with the Lions, right? This Packers team. So is it time to lay the money on Aaron Rodgers to win the MVP?
I mean, he's odds on, right? It was minus 135 last I checked earlier this week. I would say PFF, they trained a model to predict who was going to win MVP based on EPA added, schedule, wins and losses, all that kind of thing. Stuff that was predicted the MVP in the past, and they only had Rodgers around 33% compared to the market, which is 60% or so. So yeah, just based on that, it's probably not value. But again,
I'm asking the opposite question, Brad. Like, I'm asking the opposite question. He's got a crazy cold weather game this week where he's not going to probably put up a ton of stats. Tom Brady's still got 2 really easy games without weather. I guess he's in New York this week, but I mean, if we're talking straight talent and stats, I think in efficiency, I think we all agree that Aaron Rodgers has been much better than Tom Brady this year. But we're talking about old white NFL voters here that vote for this award, and Tom Brady's 7-1 right now.
Yeah, and the COVID stuff. I mean, Aaron Rodgers literally weekly going on and talking about COVID on the Pat McAfee show. Does that do anything? I mean, the other one is Mahomes. PFF, they make him the value. They've got him at 19.2% to betting odds at 7.7%. So, I mean, if he goes out and dices up Cincinnati, which we've already said he can do, I don't know who they've got in the last game, but they're on an absolute heater right now. If he finishes out with 4 touchdowns and 300 yards in each of these last 2 games, has he got a sniff?
Pretty interesting. That is for sure. And again, if we say that the Packers go about this just path of least resistance, then maybe it is value on some of these other guys. The run stop win rate for this Minnesota defense is 32nd. That's dead last in the NFL. So maybe it's just run. And if that's the case, the stats don't get there for Rodgers and things open up a little bit as well. It's going to be fascinating. Maybe I'll look a little bit harder at this MVP market as well.